Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, game number 5 here between Losira and MMA. And right now, MMA is in a commanding position. He is up 3-1 at this point in this series. So if he actually wins this game right here, then that's going to be it. MMA will be taking the cake, if you will. Losira is down. He managed to win the first game with some speedlings inside of the main base of MMA, but since then hasn't really been able to properly deal with just the consistent harassment that MMA has been laying down, just with constant drops. I'm really impressed with MMA's playstyle, just always dropping pretty much non-stop on the expansions, sniping workers, sniping besides the expansions themselves, also sniping the tech. Obviously, a real big advantage, something that, in all honesty, I think all Terran players could try to incorporate into their later game, especially in TVZ when you're rolling Marine heavy anyways. Might as well start to use Medivacs to some stronger effectiveness, and certainly MMA has been putting on a good show of precisely how that can work. Now, back for Losira, I mean, in all honesty, he has been doing a good job, and he's been very aggressive. In the first 3 games, we just saw super early aggression, very strong Zergling pushes, not focused so much on his economy, and I would say that overall that could probably be pinpointed as the downfall of those first few games. But last game he was pretty macro heavy, and he did do some very strong aggressive attacks, basically pinning MMA and overwhelming his forces in various engagements. However, MMA just barely able to hold on. 2 large pushes against him from Losira, and that's basically what allowed him to move out with a counterattack, plus all of that dropping to actually secure the victory in those past few games. But what I would really like to see more from Losira is just consistent harassment of the economy and of those expansions. I know he's been trying to do that, but maybe, if he could get some more effective harassment of that, he would certainly be in a stronger position and more able to handle what MMA was throwing at him. Because for most of these games, and I know last game in particular, MMA hasn't really he lost his high yield last game, but not really taking devastating losses economically, being pretty responsive with his SCVs and keeping them at the very least alive, has allowed him to just really churn out those units and keep that macro nice and strong, and that's how he was able to just consistently defend against what Losira was throwing at him. So right now we can see MMA is scouting around the base. He is seeing, what we've been seeing pretty much all series from Losira in terms of build order. Look at this bunker placement going down, though. Very nice aggressive play here from MMA. Looks like he will be forced to cancel that, though. He doesn't have any Marines. He does have a Reaper attempting to come out right now, and oh my, look at this SCV, nice and tucked away safely. Now the problem is that I think this bunker is going to get destroyed, and SCV doing what he can, but unfortunately was not able to actually finish that production. We do have that first Reaper out, though, so let's see how much damage MMA can do with this. One scout of the drone of Losira is in the main base of MMA, but right now he is contending with some very strong harassment here from MMA. This Reaper scout is prone to do a lot of damage right now. Needs to stay away from those Zerglings, though. Wants to try to get them off the creep, and there we go. Zerglings are gone. So right now we can see coming out with these 2 queens. It's actually just going to use that because he doesn't have any more Zerglings in production right now. Just these queens. Once this queen pops, he's going to be in a much better position, but look at this already. Reaper sitting at 8 kills, so Losira having a very difficult time dealing with this. We do have a second Reaper in play as well, and man, I have not seen Reaper harassment this effective in quite some time. I'd have to say a very impressive play there from MMA. Again, 1 Reaper, 8 kills, just 5 minutes into the game. That is very strong, I would certainly have to say. Combat Shield's going to be coming out. Looks like that switch into Marine production. Also, we do have these barracks coming, and here's the expansion. Now, we can see Losira has tried to take this extractor. We do have these Reapers moving back up into the base, trying to continue up this streak here of constant killing. Again, with these queens, very, very difficult. And once more, we can see, since Losira has taken such heavy losses economically, he is just droning up, not building any Zerglings, and just relying on these queens as defense. Also, pulling around with some of those workers, not able to get us around on that proper side, though. The queen is managing to catch up here to the Reaper. Reaper just with 1 kill will want to head back home right now, and looks like he will in fact be sitting there with just those 3 HP. Losira again stealing the gas. Unfortunately, didn't really affect MMA that much, especially since he went straight just for those double racks right there. Wasn't really that much in need of the Vespian gas. So very nice opening here from MMA. Again, that harassment proved to be quite effective. Now finally going to be getting down that other refinery. He does have this expansion up, changed finally into an orbital command, and we'll be switching that over sometime soon. I would expect that to get lifted off in the not too distant future. Reaper still scouting out at this high yield. Excuse me for the little burp there. And bunker being placed down here for MMA for some defense against possible counter aggression that we may be seeing from Losira. We can see now combat shield is finished. We'll start researching that stim pack. Should be done in about, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. It takes quite some time, and as a result, you are seeing a lot of Terran players just go straight for that combat shield initially to get at least some sort of upgrade for those Marines, and then rolling on into the stim pack. Unless you're seeing some sort of stim pack timing push, we will see more Terran players do that, basically. We can see right now, looks like we will be seeing a push with just those combat shields, though, from MMA, moving down first to deal with those Zerglings, and then I think he will be just heading straight into the base here of Losira. Losira just sitting with some Zerglings, but not quite enough. These Marines can do quite a bit of damage, plus that Reaper mix in the mix as well. Has that opportunity to do a bit of damage, though. Reaper does get dropped to this one Zergling. MMA wasn't quite paying enough attention to that Reaper, and unfortunately did lose it. Stim pack, there we go. We can see just about 50% of the way finished. We do have a starport in play finally. May start off with a Viking, or might just go straight to the medevac to try to start doing that drop harass a little early. And here we go, some aggression coming out from Losira again. This is what we saw pretty much almost all games except for the last game from Losira. Just this early game, a very, very strong Baneling Zergling push, trying to basically break MMA early on, and we will see how effective this may or may not be. The siege tank is out, but siege mode is only 50% of the way finished, so Baneling's rolling straight on in right now, trying to pick their target carefully, going straight for those Marines. Not quite enough, though. This one Baneling will be going for those Marines. Zergling's finally able to swarm up and get that surround. We have that full wall off here from MMA. MMA is probably going to be forced to lift off right now, or maybe he will just wait until those Zerglings actually start to try to engage. Now, we do have reinforcements coming out here, and consistent reinforcements being pushed out here for Losira as well. So Losira will drop these depots, it looks like. Finally, siege mode is finished, so now that that tank is up, we'll start raining hell on these Speedlings and Banelings, but still, MMA has taken a bit of losses here. Let's take a quick look at the unit loss tab. We can see, of course, MMA in a worse position than his opponent, Losira, so Losira managing to do a good job with this early game aggression, but what next? That's the question. You know, this early game push, it does a bit of damage, but is it really enough? And will he be able to contend with the likelihood of what's coming, which is this drop action? MMA just non-stop with this drop aggression moving down. Will be spotted by the Overlord, though. We'll just try to use these Marines to snipe that out of the sky before we have any reinforcements that come down here for Losira. The majority of his army is out basically halfway across the map, so one Overlord down, second Overlord gets down, and there you go. Some nice target practice here for these Marines of MMA, doing quite a bit of damage, and then we'll just be able to lift off and head straight back home. We are nowhere near Mutilus right now for Losira, so some very nice harassment that we're seeing here from MMA. We'll be seeing a Viking come out now. That will be, of course, used for Overlord sniping. We do have some very nice free targets over here. Fearing that possibility, looks like those will be headed back home right now. Also, Zergling's chilling out of the main just in case another drop happens to come, and MMA, it is possible that he can do that at any moment. Unfortunately, a little bit of a supply block here for MMA. We'll be grabbing a second fleet here of units and heading that out across the map as well. Looks like it will be moving that direction. Being able to drop in two different positions at once, definitely a very, very strong tactic. Now, we do see Losira moving into his third base right now. That has just hatched. Back over here, medevac free to fly around, given the fact especially that Losira has been going for a very late layer in this series, solely because of the early game aggression, been pumping out those strong Banelings for some big strong pushes prior to the 10-minute mark, and as such, that has really been setting back his layer tech. So without fear of those mutas, this drop harass definitely has opportunity to do a ton of damage. What do we have? One Viking there moving across the map. We'd have the other dropship over there, and these Marines will take out a couple of Zerglings and then start to work on the hatchery. Don't expect him to kill it, of course, but just do a bit of damage and soften him up for a later engagement, making for a much easier snipe once he does eventually decide to pull forward with that. Couple Marines getting surrounded, though, not actually able to pick them up quick enough, unfortunately, and the Viking right now just sitting with the one kill. So again, as we saw, Losira pulling back those Overlords back home, was able to prevent that Viking from going on a mass killing spree, although the Overlords, if they pull into this corner, they might be in a little bit of danger. I know Viking's not headed in that direction at this point right now. Just some consistent dropping here from MMA. MMA, again, just trying to get a couple kills at a time and then lift up his units. If he can do it without losing any Marines, and this is certainly worth the amount of effort and micro and basically attention that it is taking from MMA. Back over here, MMA getting ready to move into his third. Again, we do see the fact that MMA has spotted the third here of Losira, so he wants to respond with an expansion in kind. Back inside the main base, we do finally have some reactors here in these barracks for some additional Marine production, and we will be seeing some more drop harass here from MMA. Looks like he is first rolling into the main base here. Does have to contend with these banelings as well as a few of those speedlings. Hopefully he doesn't drop in one big cluster. There we go, forcing him to waste 2 banelings at the same time. Dropping again here at this expo. Will be sniping that queen. See you later. A bunch of Zerglings rolling forward to try to take out these Marines, and we're able to get that because MMA's attention was elsewhere, essentially. Back over here just non-stop with these guys. Now that he does not have a queen anti-air to deal with, he can do a bit more damage, although the spine crawler is coming into play. So with that, Losira will be able to handle those Marines much more effectively. And here comes a push right now. All the while, with all this harassment going on, MMA has been keeping up his macro. Does have a lot of tanks in play, a couple Marines in there as well. We do have the reactor there on that starport, so we'll be pumping out double medevacs for that. Speedlings catching the units there off guard, unfortunately, getting a full surround. You rolling those banelings right into those Marines, and very nice play there by Losira. He mopped up almost everything that MMA had, but at the same time, there's a drop in this direction and one over here as well, sniping the spine crawler. Will want to go ahead and pick those up. There we go, and head back out there. There's still one in the main. We'll be sniping the queen, and that's actually a big win there for MMA. Losing that queen is a problem. Losira does have a lot of creep tumors here, so hopefully MMA does manage to drop down a scan to take that out. And it looks like MMA will, in fact, be going for the high-yield expansion. Very, very risky. But in all honesty, if he keeps up this continuous aggression that he's been throwing at Losira, he may very well be able to keep that up really pretty much unnoticed by Losira. Now, we do have this one Zergling scout, so he may actually move up there and check that at some point. But still, this constant harass has definitely been very nice here. One Marine sacrificing his life, rolling right into those mutas. And finally, now that mutas are on the board, Losira should have a much easier time dealing with these dropships, and hopefully he returns some harassment as well, because that is exactly what he needs to do. Fearing those mutalisks right now, he needs to be a little bit careful. MMA does not want to roll right into those. He might lose this medevac filled with Marines. There we go, responding just in time, dropping those down, and we'll be able to use these Marines to push back the forces here of Losira. So there we go, Losira moving back with those mutas, but he does, again, need to engage at some point. He needs to do some sort of damage, needs to really harass with those as much as possible, because he has been consistently harassed here from MMA and really hasn't returned it that much. We saw that initial push, which did help quite a bit and stopped mining from MMA, but since then, MMA has just been all over Losira, so Losira does need to respond once more. Here we go, mutas moving to the corner. Looks like they are primed for an attack, and they're going to be intercepting this medevac. MMA losing. No, never mind. MMA dropping it in time. There we go, finally. I thought MMA was going to get away with that. That would have been just absolutely hysterical. Now, MMA is aware that these mutas are coming, given the fact that that medevac did manage to catch wind of that. Mutas will be trying to actually snipe down some of this tech here instead of going for that econ. We are seeing some repair as well as some Marines pull down, and it is going to be enough, actually. So very nice response there by MMA, repairing in time and pulling back a bunch of Marines to properly deal with that. Some more drop harass going down over here. We do have a bunch of Marines sitting in this corner as well, and there we go. We'll snipe a free kill there from that muta. Couple of guys pulling across the map. Muta's on the hunt now for medevacs filled with Marines. If they can catch any more of those, we'll be in a prime spot. And it looks like those mutas will be heading straight for that medevac right there. So pretty much see you later to all those Marines and that medevac, as long as he catches them. Oh, some very sneaky maneuvering there from MMA. Is actually out of the vision there. And here we go, another drop going on inside of the main. Again, MMA just being relentless with this drop. We do still have that one medevac safely hugging the corner of the map. Here are these Marines. Let's see him get stimmed up and move out for some aggression. We do have those mutas trying to move into the high yield. Really liking that turret placement. Hopefully maybe at least one more turret mixed in there as well would help him quite a bit. That dropship going to be moving straight to that third, actually, of Losira, and he could do a bit of damage because the spines are only protecting in that direction. Still a bunch of Marines over here. Those will get spotted, I believe. No, they are not spotted by Losira, so Losira does not know about those Marines sitting in the corner of his base. A few Marines get sniped out there at that watchtower by by the Mutalisk who's sitting over here. A couple Marines pushing across the center of the map. There's the drop here in the back of the third. At the same time, drop in the main will be rolling up. First sniping the Queen, then probably going to town on some of these units. I wonder if he's going to try to target fire down. No, we'll be actually moving in that direction, not doing much of anything. Here we go. There's the drop at that expansion. At the same time, push across the middle. Nice scan, taking out a ton of creep tumors, and here comes that strong push from MMA. Again, MMA just relentless here. Zergling's moving in and swooping across those Marines there, dropped inside of the main from MMA. All of the forces have been taken care of over here for Losira, but again, he's dealing with this continuous threat at the front of his base. Tank line slowly creeping forward. Nice positioning, catching all of the guys in the main and just shelling them to hell. Lots and lots of damage, and Baneling's rolling from the backside right now, but look at that tank splash damage and taking care of pretty much all of those Banelings. Very nice there by MMA. He dealt with that very, very well, and wow, there is the GG from Losira. MMA opened up this game with some very strong Reaper aggression. With this Reaper, he was able to get a multitude of kills, which Losira had quite a hard time dealing with. This is something that definitely helped MMA in the early stages of the game. After getting his economy back up, Losira bunched out with a bunch of Speedlings and Banelings and rolled right into the expansion of MMA. He was able to do a bit of damage and stop mining for quite a while, and actually forced MMA to retreat back into his main base. So this counter response here by Losira definitely helped return the battle a little bit more in his favor. After finally holding off that Speedling Baneling aggression, MMA moved out with, you guessed it, some dropping. These Marine drops proving to be so effective for MMA, sniping down a few Overlords and then just consistently harassing, and he continued this throughout the course of the game. While consistently dropping, MMA moved out around the 15-minute mark as he decided he wanted to start to try to get some map control. We're going to see him push forward with these Marines and this tank line. Now, unfortunately, at that time, Losira had what seemed to be just enough to mop up everything that MMA had. He's going to swoop right on in, get a surround on these tanks, and then roll in with those Banelings. So unfortunately for MMA, that set him back a little bit. Finally, Losira had enough mutas to actually move out and do some aggression. However, with some nice turret placement and responsiveness from MMA, he pretty much nullified that, and Losira didn't end up doing too much damage at all with those Mutalisks. At 20 minutes, MMA moved out with a big, strong Marine tank push. But at the same time, Losira was in the high yield and natural expansion of MMA with a lot of Banelings. For fear of losing though, Losira was forced to push back and try to defend with those Banelings against MMA's push. And with some really great tank positioning, MMA was able to properly deal with that stream of Banelings that rolled on in, and once those died, that's when we just saw the GG from Losira. So that about does it for this series, guys. Thank you so much for watching. MMA did come out victorious, and again, this is from MLG Columbus, so if you didn't see it, try to take a look at any other VODs. Hopefully you did enjoy it. This was the grand final, so MMA was actually the winner of that entire tournament, but either way, there are still some really great games, so definitely worth checking out. As always, guys, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.